Hey everybody, it's Kneecap here, and in this video I'm going to be going over how to complete the Mage Tower challenge for Ret Paladins. This is the Sigryn challenge, however this is only going to be specifically for Ret Paladins. I'm going to go over the fight, I'm going to go talents, gear, consumables, then all the mechanics of the fight and how to deal with each of these mechanics of the fight. And then in the second part of the video, I'm just going to break down my kill video, and that way you can kind of know the timings of things as well, because everything is very scripted in this, similar to a raid fight, or to most raid fights. Very scripted, so that can help you as well if you care to learn that way instead of just having all the information thrown at you. So let's go ahead and start with an overview of the fight. This is a 3-boss fight. They all share health. What that means is you are going to want to be casting Divine Storm as much as possible. This is an AoE fight. For these fights, all of the fights, you do not get to use legendary powers, any kind of extra power, no old tier set bonuses, no extra power at all. Other than that, you just have to, make do with regular stuff. It does cause a lot of a power shortage. Without Divine Toll, for example, you're not. We'll get into the talents, but we're not going to be using the 1-minute build because there's no way to really do an execution sentence without Divine Toll, or at least the Necrolord ability or something like that. It's very heavily mechanical. In Legion, all that mattered was the mechanics more than the damage. But because we have none of this added power in any way, no Legion legendaries, no any added power, it actually is more of a DPS fight now, where that has a ton of mechanics that one-shot you, I guess. And that's the type of fight it is. There's a lot of stuff to deal with, and we'll go through all of that as well. Next up, let's talk about the talents a little bit. So the talents for this fight are not dependent. In the first row, you're pretty much going to want to use Zeal here because you are going to be casting Divine Storm most of the time. The second row, I would say based on how you feel would be the best one. You can make the argument for Imperium Power because you are, just Divine Storming a lot. Blade of Wrath is what I personally used because just having a little bit of a ranged thing to generate Holy Power while I'm running around to Word of Glory myself was really helpful. Fire of Justice is fine as well. The next row is mandatory. You have to use Repentance. We'll get into why you have to use Repentance later on and talk about a macro you can use there as well. The next row, again, you can make arguments for all of these. I liked Cavalier. There's some tough movements in the fight, and I would hate to wipe simply because I couldn't move fast enough. So I did go with Cavalier here, but this row is, Eye for an Eye is good against Jarl. Unbreakable Spirit is good just for more Shields of Vengeance. So definitely some good arguments there. The next row, of course, Seraphim is the most powerful one. This is what I went with. But, I think maybe you could get away with Divine Purpose, especially if you get some really big luck, RNG luck, with Divine Purpose. Holy Avenger, not so much, because, you're going to get 2 uses out of it. If you use Holy Avenger with each wings, that could be, with your first 2 wings, that could be pretty good, actually. But I prefer to use my stuff on cooldown for this, because it is quite the damage check, so you're not going to want to really be sitting on things if you don't have to. For the next one, I definitely say go with Healing Hands here for the Word of Glory effectiveness. You're going to be healing yourself a lot, and you don't really want to be using like Jeskar's Vengeance with five Holy Power. I guess maybe with Divine Purpose, you could use that. A little bit of synergy there. But I use Healing Hands. That's what I suggest using. This bottom tier is interesting because I believe you could do it with any of the talents in the bottom tier. I use Sanctified Wrath on my kill, but I do believe my damage was lower than when I was using Final Reckoning. And the caveat for Final Reckoning is you just want to make sure you're getting it on all 3 of them, or at least 2 of them, but preferably all 3 of the enemies. And you're going to want to hit them all with it and then, AoE the crap out of them. I know a lot of people are using Crusade. Not too many people have completed it at this point, just handfuls, I'm sure. Or maybe 50 or something, but whatever. That doesn't matter. But I know of many of those people that used Crusade. So you might want to think about using Crusade. But again, I'll just go through what I used for my kill. Zeal, Blade of Wrath, Repentance, Cavalier, Seraphim, Healing Hands, and Sanctified Wrath. That's what I used. It worked for me. If I changed one thing back, I'd probably change back to Final Reckoning. Again, that's just me, though. I think it's doable with multiple talents. I don't think the talents are the make or break, except for, of course, the repentance. Next, let's just talk about gear. I pretty much just used my Shadowlands gear. I didn't farm anything extra. There are some people saying it wasn't working anyways. I did do two things. I put on a Prydes legendary from Legion, and I put on a Finger legendary from Legion. That's just because they have extra stats on them. So I went with that. So when they changed how rings work, they don't have main stat on them anymore anyways. But these legendaries from Legion have three sets of secondary stats. So I have a crit haste mastery, and then I believe another crit haste mastery. So you can wear these Legion legendaries just for a little bit of extra stats. If you have anything in your... So I know this is relevant. I didn't farm any gear or anything like that personally. But if you have a set of like leech gear, that would be the best one. So let's say you just have been saving like, oh, I want a whole set of leech gear. Or maybe you have like 7 pieces of leech gear. Some of it can be from Legion. Some of it can be from BFA. Wearing leech gear would require you to have to Word of Glory yourself last, which is more AoE damage that you can put into the bosses. So I would advise wearing anything with leech that's 50 item level or eye level 50 or higher. Anything with leech is good for sure on that. So yeah, not too complicated on gear there. I didn't have to use anything too special. I did throw on the 2 legendaries. That's it. I don't have any extra leech or anything like that, so can't say anything there. I do recommend, next we're going to talk about consumables. I do recommend going all out on consumables. You're most likely going to need drums. So to give yourself heroism / bloodlust, you're going to want drums. I used potion. I used flask. I used sharpening stone for my sword, or you could use the other stone if you don't have a sword. And then I also used food, and I used versatility. I actually literally only used food on my last pull, my kill pull. So maybe that made the difference. But you can use food as well. And I don't believe, and again, I just had versatility food in my bag. I don't, there's probably mastery, probably better. Haste might be better. But I just used what was in my bag on one pull, and it kind of works. So that's what I went with. But I do recommend using everything. Again, this is a very strict damage check. Next, we are going to talk about the mechanics of the fight, probably the most important part. We'll go through each of the bosses and what their mechanics are and how you deal with them. So first up, we have Jarl. This is the melee guy. He has his 2 abilities are from being empowered from Sigryn, the main boss, and then he has his own 1 ability. So he has an enrage thing that makes him hit like an absolute truck. You're going to want to Hodge that / Hand of Hindrance that's your slow ability, and run away and kite from him. You do not want him beating on you. You can bop. If you chose eye for an eye there, that's obviously when you probably want to pop eye for an eye as well, which would allow you to at least somewhat tank it, although you're probably just going to have to log through it anyways. So I don't necessarily advise doing that. And his other thing is Bladestorm. This one's easy because all you need to do is Hammer of Justice him, and he will stop Bladestorming, and he will not restart Bladestorming. So that's an easy empower to stop there. So Enrage, mostly kiting, Bladestorm, stun. And then he has his own ability. Those first 2 are empowered abilities from Sigryn. Hurl Axe. You want to dodge as many of these axes as possible. You're going to end up taking quite a few throughout the fight, but dodge Hurl Axes as much as you can. Next up, we have the Runeseer. Runeseer just constantly spams Shadow Bolt. You can interrupt that as much as you want, because you'll have plenty of time to interrupt the main ability by the time you get the shell down. And that's what the other ability is. It's an empowered barrier or shell that's put on by Sigryn. And you need to be able to put damage in the shell, break it, and then interrupt the cast. If the cast goes off, you die. So basically, you don't have to save any cooldowns or anything to get through this shell. It will be tight. It will be a tight fit on some pulls. Sometimes you'll get through it without anything halfway through the cast, and sometimes you will barely make it. It absolutely stinks if you don't make it. Obviously, maybe you're trying to hold your Wake of Ashes for a wings or something like that, or for something else. You're holding something to try to pool all your abilities together. If it's starting to get close, go ahead and use it. You'll kind of know, you'll kind of get a feel for how many Templars verdicts it takes to get through that. This will also be the one time that you're single targeting. I should specify that. If your wings is up or something like that, you can go ahead and keep AoEing all the mobs to break through the shell. But if you don't have anything up, if you're using Final Reckoning too, that's another thing that if that's up and you use that on it, you're going to break through it pretty fast. You can go ahead and keep AoEing. Well, this will be the one time that you're single targeting, and that's during, again, the barrier that's put on the rune seer. Look out for single target on that. Sigryn, the main boss, the most important boss. Let's first talk about the most important ability and the one that you really have to figure out quickly. This is called Blood of the Father, and Sigryn has a voice line saying, like, I call upon the blood of my father, and she, like, arches her back when she does it if you're more of a visual cue person. And when this happens, when she starts casting, or you can pretty much wait until if you're a visual person, for example, after she does her little back arch, if you start casting your repentance at her, you will interrupt her. You can also start casting at the exact same time as her. Her cast takes a while to go off, and you need to interrupt her cast. This is the biggest difference between Legion and now. You need to interrupt her Blood of the Father cast. If you interrupt it with repentance, you can break her out immediately and continue to AoE all 3 enemies. If you do not, if you break her out after she gets the cast off, she will continue to do the damage. The Blood of the Father will kill you. Therefore, this is very important. And you only have to do this a few times throughout the fight, but this is pretty much the most important thing, because there's no, oh crap, like I can, oh crap, and press bop if Jarl's Enrage is hitting me or something like that. There's other ways to get through some of the other things. And yes, you can bubble, but your bubble's going to run off, and Blood of the Father is still going to be ticking and kill you. So this is very important. You need to interrupt Blood of the Father with your repentance every time. The very first, when we'll go through the breakdown of the video, but the very first time she casts Blood of the Father will be during the first set of runes. The second, well, the runes always come in 2 sets, and we'll talk about the runes here shortly. But during the second one of the first set, I guess you would say, the second set of 3 on the first 2 set, that's when she will cast her first Blood of the Father, and you need to stop even collecting the runes, and you need to interrupt Blood of the Father. It's the most important thing. She also has Throw Spear, puts fire patches on the ground. These do quite a bit of damage to you, so you definitely don't want to stand in them. You can run through them if you need to, but don't stand on them. I believe you can actually jump over it too if you're on your Divine Steed. And then, of course, she empowers her allies. We talked about that with Blade Storm and the Shell on Runeseer, and then like the Enrage on Jarl as well. There's also just some general fight mechanics. So there's going to be yellow orbs that fall on the ground. These heal you, so this is a way you can avoid a Word of Glory or 2, is by collecting yellow orbs at the correct time. These will give you a little bit of health. There's these angel lines. These are the most frustrating thing to die to, at least for me. They will appear on any side, any of the 4 sides. Imagine a square around the circle that you're in, and they will go in a straight line, and you need to find the opening and be missed by them by being in that opening. Otherwise, again, you will be one shot and die. And then there's purple runes on the ground. We're kind of talking about them. These are always going to come in 2 sets of 3. So the first one's fairly early on in the fight. There'll be a small one, a medium, and a big one. That's the order that you want to collect them in if you can. Small, medium, big. If you have to, use Divine Steed for this. But you do want to make sure you have Divine Steed up for the angel line if possible. But collect these runes. Again, if a rune goes off, you will die. They can be a bit finicky, so make sure you step on them. There's, I believe the pull right before I got the kill, I died to a rune that I swore I stepped on, but apparently I didn't. It was pretty small. But yeah, that's how we did that. So that's it for this part of the video. The next part of the video, I'm just going to be breaking it down so you can follow along if you like. But that's it for this part of the video. Do ask you to please subscribe to the channel, and of course have a good one. But continue watching the rest of this if you need help visually to kind of know what's going on. And like I said, everybody have a good one. All right, so second part of the video here, I will just be breaking everything down for you as the fight goes on. You can see my talents really quickly popped up there. I got my food buff. I like to pop my shield before it starts because I'm going to need it anyways. I want to just face tank as much of this damage as I can. I'm starting off on Sigryn. I'm interrupting the Shadow Bolt, and I'm bringing everything over to Jarl, who's just going to be spamming Hurl Axe. At this point, you're just going to want to start up your damage rotation with whatever talents that you have selected. And yeah, you're just going to do as much AoE damage as you can. You're going to need to heal at some point during all this, but you really want to pop as much damage as you can. Here I'm using drums, I'm using potion, I'm using as much as I can. I've waited to the last second to Word of Glory myself. I use a Hammer of Justice on Jarl as he enrages. Go collect an orb for a little bit of free health. I have Jarl slowed with Hand of Hindrance. Here comes the first runes. I'm going to take a couple blows there from Jarl. It's fine, just Word of Glory yourself. Alright, I'm going to go try to get back over here to the rune seer to keep AoEing everything down. Now during this, Sigryn's going to cast the Blood of the Father. I actually was able to collect all the runes before, and I repentanced it right as she started casting it. Break her out immediately, again, so I can continue to AoE. Going to my badge, my 1 minute trinket. It's about to come back up, so I'll have to put a little bit more damage. This is also where normally you would use Final Reckoning if that were up. The next thing that's going to happen, it's always going to alternate. So Jarl got his enraged. The next thing that's going to happen is the Rune Seer is going to get a shield on it. So you're going to want to make sure you pool up some holy power here. If you are being a little bit naughty like me and not keeping it at 5 every time. So here we go. There's the shell, casting of Ancestral Knowledge, and we're going to have to break out of that. And so this takes a little bit of time here, unfortunately. You do have time to Word of Glory yourself in there. I got it off pretty quickly there. Angel line comes through, and you dodge it. Real quick, for the Repentance, you can use a focus macro for that. I'll put this macro in the description. Here comes a Blade Storm. So again, they switch. I hodge that immediately. The next thing is going to be another Blood of the Father. Again, Repentance. And I'm going to talk about that macro. And then I'm going to do Big Damn here again with Wings as it pops up. This will always happen the same way. So for the focus, I use a focus macro. You can see on the left I have Sigryn focused. Now this Wings isn't going to get a ton of uptime because of these runes. I think you're going to get another rune set as well along with these angels. I still like to use it here so you can get another use of Wings in later. But you're going to use I like to use a focus macro, so I have her focused. My macro is just hashtag show tooltip / cast bracket at focus end bracket repentance, and that'll just cast on your focus, and then you do not need to actually target Sigryn. Again, I'll put that macro in the description. Another angel line going through, bringing them all back together once again so we can get the AoE. The macro is actually quite important, and I will put that in the description. That if you were wondering why I'm not actually ever targeting Sigryn and I'm still able to repentance her, that's why. Another angel line here. We got Jarl enraging. I go ahead and hodge that, which not necessarily the best thing to do there. Blade Storm is better to use it for. We have another set of runes coming out. I missed that first one. I really thought I was going to die. So because I missed that first one, I end up face tanking quite a bit from Jarl, which is very unfortunate, but that's okay. It's going to happen. These runes are really wonky. I go ahead and use my Wake there just to heal myself. And this is a very critical part of the fight. So right here, when he's casting Blade Storm, if he is on Sigryn, it can be quite rough because you need to... if you're basically all grouped up at that point, it's actually pretty rough because you need to get out of the Blade Storm and cast Repentance on Sigryn right there. So that's a time you could use your bubble, for example, instead of having to waste it like I did when I didn't step on the rune properly. But you're going to want to not have to deal with that. So here comes another Blade Storm. So I got the Blade Storm instead of the shell there. It could be either. I prefer the Blade Storm there. In that case, I did have the Hodge up anyways. And I'm just trying to finish off Jarl. Once Jarl's down, I go ahead and cast Blessing of Protection there. Again, so I don't have to take as much damage. Don't have to wog myself as much. Comes another set of angels. And we're just going to try to finish off Jarl. And then the fight becomes quite easy at that point. Not many more mechanics left. If you kill him a little bit quicker, you would notice that, the lack of mechanics. But yeah, so here we go. We have to break through this bubble. We're going to barely get off that one. So it's important that I do not break this Repentance because I did not interrupt the cast of Sigryn. She did get the Blood of the Father off. So I'm just going to let it sit in there for a while I single target down the runes here instead of cleaving down at this point. So it's going to break there. And I almost died because of that, by the way. So I think the angels, I think because the dialogue starts that the angels will not go off, but they do, and kill me. That's fine. You still get the completion. You have to go through all this dialogue and stuff. But yeah, it's rough for sure. It's a little bit fast paced. I had to, kind of talk through everything really quickly there. Hopefully you got more of a better idea from the mechanics from the first part of the video. Again, I'll put that macro in the description to use that. And if you don't make any mistakes, like I made multiple mistakes during this one, it'll be a little bit easier for you. It is hard not to make mistakes, but at least it's not like a 10-minute fight. It's only like a 5-minute fight. So there's the achievement. So yeah, that's exactly how you do it. It's very repetitive, breaking shells, avoiding Jarl, and repentencing Sigryn, essentially, right? So you're just doing that over and over while dodging angels and collecting runes as well. So good luck to everybody. I hope everyone's able to get it. It's a little bit rough, but I hope everyone's able to get it. So everybody have a good one.